This is unbelievable. I came into this room 3 times earlier. It was empty. And I just wondered what this would feel like. Now I know. It's unbelievable. It really, really is. I've never been surrounded by so much love in my life. And I got a big family. So, no, I ain't kidding about that. Because when you talk about the people who voted and number of times and different machines, I got 9 siblings. And I also got 2 homes. I got St. Joseph's College, I got the Faculty of Physical Education and Recreation, and I've got colleagues all over the place, people are voting. And what amazes me, my neighbors, my friends, people in different countries, was a perseverance of voting. And to me, there was no greater sign of love than that. And I would say that for Kathy and Christine and everybody else, just simply being nominated was good enough. 1 vote is like all it took. When Chloe informed me that I was nominated for this, I cried. Because to me, at that point, that's when you win. Students recognize that. I didn't have to be here. I don't have to be here now. And if I was not here, I'd still be the happiest guy in the world. I've had such great classes. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. But this is quite an honor. This is, and so thank you. And I'm going to thank you again after. But I like to do stuff up here. One of the things that, when chatting with people, different folks, there were a number of people who did not know what the last lecture was. So it's a great thing, right? No, Maraj gets to do this, but what's he doing? And so, the last lecture is the name of a book. Randy Pouch was, it's a little one there, you see it on the right, but it's not good enough. It's here. He's a professor of computing science at Carnegie Mellon University. And he was dying of pancreatic cancer. And so he wrote the book and literally gave what was his last lecture. Now, since then, a variety of universities across North America started doing that. But there are a couple other places that had been doing it before. The one that caught my interest was UCLA, the last lecture award in 1955. As that continued to go, John Wooden, the great coach, John Wooden, was one of the people who actually gave one of those talks. Utah State University has done it for quite some time as well, and what they have is an honors program, and it's even got a pretty long history. The University of Alberta started it last year, in 2014, with Robert Birch, who is retiring, doing the first last lecture, and I am honored to be doing the second last lecture. So that's the history for anybody, and you'll see them all over the place. There are tons of other universities that continue to do this. And the one thing they all keep getting wrong is that just about everybody who's done the last lecture has said, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. And clearly they're wrong, because I am the luckiest person in the world. I don't know how to keep doing that and just get it wrong. So, when you're first contacted, they said you have to give a title. And this is my title. Title's kind of a now, for all my peeps from Physical Education and Recreation, they all recognize that what I do is study movement control and learning. And so, learning a moving experience is a wonderful pun for them. They get it. But I gotta explain it to everybody else. And say, okay, because it can be a moving experience when we talk about learning. Well, yeah. As you're about to find out, when I get my USRIs back, sometimes some students write, that's the driest stuff we've ever had. But it was delivered in, it's how they finish it. But you get some of that dry stuff now too, just like everybody else. I'm not really dry. Whenever I teach, I like to give an overview. I want you to know what the roadmap is. That is, if you want to pause and go to the bathroom or something like that, you can, and you'll know where to pick up when we come back. But this is where I want to go. And that's where I want to end. I want to end the risk right before your eyes. But learning is an interesting entity, and for me, I study the learning of movements. It can take a much, much broader perspective, right? You can learn about leadership, you can learn about life, you can learn about, you name it, it's out there. But mine's in the motor domain, as you like to call it. And I just love the idea that we can sometimes so easily, effortlessly make wonderfully coordinated movements. We learn how to do that. And the number that we do on a given day is dramatic, right? Whether you're brushing your teeth or brushing your hair, tying your shoes, putting on your glasses, getting different things, reaching and grasping for a cup, moving through the environment, getting on a train, driving a car, whatever. Huge, huge variety. An almost endless list of motor skills that we can engage in. In our class we talk about how to differentiate those types of skills. So learning is the first one we're going to talk about. And Richard Bach said, and I love, teach best what you need most to learn. And when I teach about learning, I really want to learn how to play squash better. I really want to know how to control the degrees of freedom that I have, so every joint I have can move when I'm trying to hit a golf ball effectively. I think about that every now and then. Teach best what you need most to learn. And the ease with which we can do movements, just to me, is astounding. Watch this. So easily for granted, incredible movement control. And what we take for granted, what we get to do, is watch a lot of this stuff unfold. And when we talk about learning, this is straight out of the text. I have to do this because I feel better. Good. A change in behavior as a function of practice or experience. Not good. You don't know how to do something here. Practice or experience ensues. We know how to do it. Or we know some version of how to do it. Nothing's changed. I can't look at someone and say, you're an expert tennis player. You're, hang on a second, you're a hide-and-seek guy. You're a wonderful runner. You're a great golfer, squash player, whatever. There's no way I can look at someone and do that. It has to be, and the word is inferred, except I don't say that really well, because I have a weak R, and I've told my classes before, you have to tolerate it. The word is inferred. But when you say it like that, far too many, it's too much energy. Inferred. Right? It has to be inferred. You have to actually do something. Einstein was right. Nothing happens until something moves. It's absolutely correct. As strange as it sounds, the 1967 depiction of the stages of learning by Pitts and Posner is still used today to characterize how people change as a function of practice and experience. 1967, still good. You utilize a cognitive stage, an associative phase, and an autonomous phase. And even though Pitts and Posner put that out in 67, it's still valid today. That's one of the only ones that people use. So think about you driving your Lamborghini Countach. Okay? You sit in, right? And this is the first time that you're you're not that familiar with standard. He's got, tell me you got an automatic Countach. Okay? Daniel Craig, maybe. And so, push down on the clutch, put it into first, release the, start. So push down on the clutch, put it into first, release, and then keep going, right? You're thinking your way through it. After that, come in, down the clutch, through, easy. You associate timing a lot easier. And then later on, gone in that autonomous phase. When did that end? And one thing about learning is that you cannot directly observe someone learning. It is always an inference. Somebody has to be doing something. So, when I call on someone, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4. Vanessa, give me an hand for a second. One of us can somewhat juggle. Can you tell which one of us that would be? No way to tell. No way to tell. I like throwing you. No way to tell. Until someone moves. And then yeah, don't worry. Okay. Until someone moves. That's another theory by Gentile, so I'll get the idea of the movement. That's the first stage, it's close. Thank you very much. Big hand for Vanessa. Now, two other characteristics of learning can be, and these are just the last two terms I'll use within the motor domain. They're called product and process. And I love these two because they tell us a lot. Now, the product is simply the end result of something or another. Very straightforward. Right? It could be the distance that you throw something. It could be the distance that someone is jumping. Let's do process. So performance parameters that contribute to the outcome of something. So let's say, for example, I was going to throw this disc. Characteristics that influence the outcome of how far this is going to go. That's going to be the process. Okay, this is process. This is still process. Anybody here from facilities? Good. So, process is all this stuff that I have. All of that is process. Process, you juxtapose that with product. Now, I want to show you something better than a frisbee throw for this. Okay, that's my big test right now. That is just a thing of beauty. What you saw there was, I guess that would be my opinion, one of the greatest athletic feats of all time. That was Bob Keenan jumping into 68 Olympics. In terms of product, where he ended up was 8 meters 90. And translated, that is 29 feet, 2 1/2 inches. That's one of the greatest products you will ever see in the history of sport. Phenomenal. The world record at the time was like 27:10. I'm just approximating there, I'm guessing. But he skipped 28 feet altogether. I went to 29 1/2. Phenomenal. That's the product. So what's the process with that? What's the process that led to something like that? I find that interesting as well because when you think about it, what you have now is an incredible, to say, okay, what happened there? How did that come to be? Well, there are a number of interesting factors that went into that. One was that it was in Mexico City, the altitude is 10,000 feet. So it's rarefied air, so you can move faster, right? There's not as much air resistance. maximum allowable wind in any track and field event is 2.0 meters per second, and that's exactly what it was. He optimizes speed to a magnificent degree, such that his foot on the board, it's a 20 centimeter board by a 10 centimeter foul area, was right at the edge, no foul. Maximum distance you could get off of the board. And then he had the perfect angle of takeoff. It was astounding. All of that process went to creating that product. So, what if I, run Maraj, was a product? Stand here in front of you, giving the last lecture, and say, if I'm the product, what's the process? How did this come to me? That I'm standing here in front of all of you, whom I have so much love and respect for, today. How's that come about? Who began? You say, yeah, because a lot of people voted for you, man. But, but I won anyway, I told you. Even if I didn't, right? You would still do that. So, what are the processes that lead to this product? I don't like to give everything away. I think I've done that in classes sometimes. And I don't like building all the time because I'm getting old and I forget what's coming next, or I think it's all done and it's not. If you build a slide, oh man. So there really are three things I want to share with you, and I want to share those individually. And the big conceptual leap we have to make is that the processes that led me here are also the things that I want to share with all of you. When you're asked to do this lecture, they say it's off syllabus, you can, so I've been on syllabus for a little bit. You can be off syllabus, but I want to be able to tie those things together. I want to be able to bring you in to some of the things that have been processes in my life, but also are things that I'd like you to take away from all of this. So 3 things to share with you. First is to find your passion. And you may have heard that before. You just have to live it. But what they don't always tell you is that it may involve some risk. You never hear that. Or you never hear any stories about that. So, what does that mean? I do think that sometimes you do find your passion, and sometimes your passion finds you. It sounds strange, but it's absolutely true. There's some things that will find their way to you. One of the things about looking at somebody and not knowing what kind of, if they're an expert juggler or if they're, I'm not, an expert or an expert violinist or anything like that, is that you look at them and you can't tell. When my students look at me, many of the times, they have no idea. They just, I've been here all along. He's been here, he's just here. That's just, they don't see any of the process. They see the product, of teaching. So, finding out about that is an interesting one. And finding your passion, put everything up. Yeah, I didn't stop on stuff, I'm not building. I'm proud to, I moved to Canada in 1969 with my parents and 9 siblings. 2 of whom are here today. Siblings, I am proud to say. Influenced just for this. We, when we moved here, the intent, I had never, ever had an intention to be a professor. In fact, I would say that for the first 32 years of my life, being a professor was not even, there was not even an iota of thought towards being a professor. None, nada, zip, zero, zilch. I guarantee you that. It was a big move. Our parents, God rest their souls, they did a wonderful thing for us. They brought us to North America in 1969. And that was something. much was going on at the time. It was great to be here. We owe them huge thanks for everything that they did. Now, I found track and field, or I'd say maybe track and found me, accidentally. In high school, Westdale High School, Hamilton, Ontario, they lined everybody up for physical education class and said, run! And I did! Faster than everybody else. And then got involved in a track and field club and enjoyed running high school, running university. And then I continued to participate and wanted to move further in track. And I got my master's degree at, as mentioned earlier, University of Western Ontario. Oh, Western University now. That's right. Does mine still count as University of Western Ontario? And one of my first break, if you will, was when I landed the head coaching job at York University in Toronto after I completed my master's degree for 1 year. I loved track and field. Just before I knew anything about anything, track and field, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach teams. I wanted to build teams together that could compete for championships. And I won. And it was something. I won nationals twice, and runner twice. 3 bridge starts, 8 years. It was anything for it. I know one other track guy here that would just say, yep, you know, it feels like that to this day. It was just in your blood. You talk about passion, that's what you wanted. You're just screaming your lungs out for your athletes, training and doing whatever. You find your it was never work. Even if it was a 12 or 15-hour day, it was never work. That was what you do for track. That's what you do to try to win. That's what you do to build your team. That's what you do every single time you're out there. And I loved it. The whole winning thing. I'm not obsessed with it or anything. However, this banner hangs in the pavilion of the University of Alberta. It is the 1984-85 CIAU is the CIS now, the Canadian University. It was Canadian University Athletic Union is what it used to be called. It's called CIS now. And that banner hangs in the pavilion right here at the University of Alberta. I finished second in that championship. You don't get a banner for finishing second. I see that banner every time I'm in the pavilion. I have been here for 16, going on 17 years, and I see that every day. Billy was right. I get a little more than I love winning. Oh, man. But that, I'm over it. Another decade of therapy, man. I'm fine. So at one time, the youngest head coach in the country, I was doing well. I got the head coaching job at McCalla University. I had house, family, God. I had benefits. I know what benefits mean. I had a pension. I had a paycheck. I had money left over. I had Sports Illustrated. I had cable TV. It was good. I'm thinking, yes! Just like that. Right? Yes! This is. You find your passion. You find, I love it. Cable TV. And then something. Oh, you know what's coming. You know what was coming. Well, there was, what were it? It was a dark and stormy night would be one of them, but then something happened. And then, I quit my job. Oh, I gotta get ready for this. Because the secretary I talked to you about basically, what it's telling me is that's how you operationalize it. You operationalize trust, you have faith. You find your passion, well, you get ready for a little risk. Because it doesn't just sort of always come right to you. So, we, because I didn't adopt them, and nor was I a single parent. My wife and I, Kathleen, was right there. We had 3 children at the time that I quit my job. So how can you look at those babies, and that's what they looked like at the time in 1991, and quit your job? I'm glad I didn't see that picture till years later. And as the slides here say, what do you want? Like that. And to do what? And why? Feds are performance enhancing drugs. The answer is no. Because I was a track and field coach in the 80s. Full guilt by association. The answer is no. Scandal? No. It was not that. Why? So, I enrolled in a PhD program at Waterloo when I was 34 years old. With a perfectly good job, a pension from which I'm only thinking about it, 2 or 3 times an hour. From which I could be retired right now. Full pension. And earned money as a session and graduate. I got scholarships, and I always want to pay special homage to the Alpha. That's when, and the reason I do that is because when I quit my job is when Alpha was born. I quit my job, and this mug, this Alpha mug, has been, I'll show you other people too, here and there. This mug is, my students, many a student here has seen the mug. I mean, you know that I do not teach a class without this. The Alpha mug, I need the other side so you get more profiles. I never taught a class without that. I got that mug to teach the very first session of class I ever taught in January of 1992, after I quit in July of 1991. It probably was a Christmas present. And given the financial circumstances, maybe the only person I got. I was fine. The Alpha has been with me for just about every class. And when you think about the things that guide you, even when things aren't going great, it's those little things sometimes. Those things you have faith in, that you trust in. And that mug was one of them. Because every time I walked into a classroom, I was carrying a cup of love. I was carrying a part of my family. I was carrying something very, very special. And it continued. In fact, the specialness of ALF multiplied as a function of the number of classes I continued to teach. It just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And not because it wasn't just family anymore. It was everybody else who was in that community. And that was pretty sweet. Here's the stuff I didn't think about when I quit my job. Ooh, that you cannot see. I didn't think about the completion rate for a PhD. I had no idea that people didn't finish this thing. So, the completion rate's wrong. I should have thought about that. You see the little babies' faces? I didn't think only 50% of people. And there's no guarantee of a job at the end. Like none. You ain't going on that stuff. No, sure. And even if you did get a job, could you get tenure? Could you get promoted? Could you get external funding? Can you get people to pick up what you're throwing down paper-wise and publish the stuff? Would they do that? No benefits. No pension. No cable TV. Oh, no sports illustrated. Maybe I was out of my mind. So you think about the actual saying, here, I quit my job. Honey, I'm home. I have no job. that sort of unfolding, and then everything that sort of goes with that. I just knew, it's so difficult to convey sometimes, that that was the right thing to do. Plunging into depths of poverty is not something that most people would think would be the right thing to do. But I just knew it was the right thing to do. I never realized exactly how that was unfolding until years later. And years later, I read this book. So I never realized why, going from being a track and field coach at McMaster University to a PhD student at Waterloo, just felt like it was the right thing to do. Like it just, when you think about it like that, you think, no, there's some incongruency there. That just does not, the cable TV thing and notwithstanding, it just does not make sense. Till I read this book. Malcolm Gladwell is a Canadian. He is part Jamaican as well. But when he wrote this book, and two others, Flink and The Tipping Point, great books, he mentioned a number of things. One of them was citing work by Anders Ericsson, talking about the number of hours required to go from being relatively novice in a task to relatively expert in that task. 10,000 hours, the rule people have to do that. In my squash life, I can tell you now that at my current rate, my 10,000 hours will be in when I'm 75. Fortunately, there's one national championship left, and it's 75 plus at the Canadian National Championship, so I'm going to give it a shot. So Malcolm really helped to put out there the idea of this 10,000 hour rule for it. And if you dig deeper in the book, and it's a good read, along with some others, the goal line effect, sporting gene, talent code, books like that, talk about how people move to a different level or what are some of the factors that are related to people changing things and moving to some other level. When I was at McMaster University as a track and field coach, there happened to be 3 scientists there who were the best in the world at motor learning and control. Bigby Elliott, Tim Lee, and Jan Starks. And if you read the talent code or sporting gene, you'll see Jan Starks' name all over in there, in what they're doing. When they describe some of the opportunities that come about for people to move up in a particular area, they talk about that as being one of them. They talk about Olympic champions in Kenya running with a whole group of other people. They talk about, in Outlives, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the opportunity that Bill Gates and Paul Allen had at the high school that they were attending that had a better computer lab than the University of Michigan. And they were able to put their hours in and do what they did now. One owns the Seattle Kings and the other one's still very rich. But they created QDOS, which was the precursor to DOS, quick and dirty operating system, to be able to do that. They had that time, but they had the opportunity. So what I had was this environment, this opportunity to work with people who were the best in the field. I'm a track and field coach. I am a track and field coach. I can tell you how to run. I can move you faster. You can jump further, jump higher, throw better than you ever have in your whole life. I can make you do that. But I was hanging around with people who knew the whys of all this stuff. They knew the theories behind things. I did something because I felt good. I'm going to do that again. They did stuff because if you follow this protocol, this is going to happen. They understood stuff. They had stuff that I wanted. They had stuff that I wanted. Oh, it was powerful. It was so powerful. You wanted to have that. If you're a track and field coach, you wanted to know that. But this is what it reminds me of.
she's happy.
That's what it reminded me of. I was the old lady. I was the old lady at University of University. I want the data. I want that. I want to know that. And it was because so moved was I by what I was seeing, what they knew, what they had. I wanted that. I quit my job. I put the little baby faces and no cable TV. And it was one of the most powerful things because you have to believe in something you cannot yet see. You have to believe in it. I got this from my mom. I keep that in my office. And it says, faith is daring the soul to go beyond what the eyes can see. I keep this bad boy on my desk. As I fluctuate between college and physical education, moving. And just grasp on that. So that was my opportunity. These wonderful scientists there, who were also friends and colleagues. I was working at McMaster. They were people I would work with. And I just wanted to do what they were. I wanted to know what they knew. I felt that I could make a better contribution if I knew that stuff. If I knew it in such depth, that would be fine. I call them the Olympic champions of academia, because that's kind of what they were. When you think about those Olympic champions running with little kids in villages in Kenya and Ethiopia, it's the same kind of thing. I'm a little kid, there's a chance I'm going to run with them. And I did. And now I understand better what that trusting was. Not that it's easier because there's an explanation, but way back then there was no explanation. No, you just knew. You just trusted that. So they kept going and completed it in 4 years, which is one of those where you don't always finish it 4 years. A lot of programs where we have people now who are taking 6 years, it take more. It's a while to be able to complete it, so I did diligently that. In that time, my dad passed away, my son Brendan was born, and there were no jobs forthcoming. I did interview at the University of Alberta. And it's the soup Nazi line, no job for you! It was just one of those that you just had to say, now what do you do? So we left Canada. The 2 lines you see at the bottom are from a poem called For Whatever May Come. And students can hear it sometimes, but I guess I would have been a student graduating at that time as well too. But what does the world hold for me? What's out there that I can't see? And what was up there for us was this. This is the University of Colorado at Boulder. We got an opportunity, the Americans took us and welcomed us, and it was great. It was a 3-year contract, postdoc / instructor position in teaching courses, and it was a huge move because we weren't getting very much money. We had kids, Canada was on the way, and we made it. Colorado was a wonderful, wonderful experience. The people there were great. Showtime was born in Colorado. The first class I ever taught at the University of Colorado at Boulder was in the Math and Physics building. I had 420 seats, not an empty seat. So 420 students. I had an AP director, I had whatever. You had to. It was amazing. But they gave us a great opportunity. And the year we spent in Colorado was fabulous. But we knew that staying on a soft money, it's called soft money. That soft money is money that you sort of pick up from different places. Hard money, hard lines of money, and money that is dedicated to you. Colorado soft money. Well, we got an opportunity for hard money because we got an assistant professor position in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. And it was a tenure-track position. And the thinking was that it'd be easier to make a lateral move than a vertical move. Right? So if you're in a tenure-track position here, it'd be easier to get to move to a tenure-track position somewhere else. That was the whole thought. And as it turned out, we stayed in Baton Rouge for 3 years. And then we got here. I wanted to put two things in before, there's a couple of big writings that I want you to read. First, the stuff that I go through, me and my family have gone through, isn't always been easy. And what we've done, is not going to work for everybody. In fact, I've advised people not to do some things very similar to what we did. It sounds like it's too much of a risk. Right? Nobody's really taken me up on that. In fact, when I talk to individuals who are successful in business here in Edmonton, many of the people that I talk to tell me that they would never have done that. They would not do that. And so thankful that I didn't listen to as much logic, because I wouldn't be here now. I like to think that there's no good or bad in stuff, just learning. I really do. And live life, and I'll give you a quote in just on the other page. It's called "In Radical Amazement." It's a beautiful quote. And I try to live by that and have everybody I know and love live by that as well. Because I try to see more raisins in my raisin bran. There's more stuff. We get happy about that. It's all good. So here's the quote. Rabbi, philosopher, our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed. And that took us here. I'll say those people really like this one because there it is, the University of Alberta motto. Everybody knows that, right? What's the motto? Nothing. What's the motto again? Whatsoever things are true. Right out of the Bible. Letter St. Paul to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. And at the college is teach me whatsoever things are true. And it's beautiful. So we're here after all of those journeys, enjoying a ride to this place. This date will be indelibly etched in my mind. It still is. It's September 9th, 1999. That's the day I taught my first class at the University of Alberta. It was a Thursday, if you had moved to look at it. It was a Thursday at 11 o'clock in E120. A great class. One of the people in my class is here. And think, she is Sintra, Lucy Siba. There's a whole bunch of people that I still remember from that class. It was from then to now. This run has been just great. Meeting some absolutely wonderful people. 9999. So being at so the online people will like this when I say this has been great. It's been a wonderful, wonderful run. Almost like it's his last lecture. I've had great classes and wonderful, wonderful classes. I did teach an entire class blindfolded. A parent of one of the students who was in that class is here. Do you remember that? That was to give people a richer understanding of what it's like to operate in the absence of vision. Imagine that. And I walked from my office to the classroom, taught the entire class. I had one overhead. Back in the days when there were overheads. And but I knew what was on it. Put it down, taught the class. And at the end of the class, it was interesting. I didn't want to see that exactly. So I let him go and I walked back to my office blindfold. The second on this one, I think about things in my class. And people mention this. I go out of my way to debunk this, just that expression of muscle memory. I want to throw up when I hear it. I need you to replace that, okay? Because even though it sounds like an expression you should use, don't use it. You hear other people say it, correct them. I did that at a workshop once. They didn't take it so well, but the term that you want to use is motor memory, right? Because when you say, oh yeah, you just do that and continue to do it, what you want and what you're trying to convey is memory for movement, right? Which is what is conveyed in motor memory. Muscles in and of themselves have no memory. Right? They're a function of the central nervous system. I have to say that. Because I see these guys getting paid lots of money on TV during the Olympics saying crap like this, and I want to... Not because I'm not getting paid for it, but because it's wrong. Now, the last one, you might have heard about it. And, yeah, there's stuff going around about that. This Roscoe was in that class. It was an attempt to try to talk about transfer of learning. I've been riding my bike pretty good for a while. And other people are from that class are here. I was riding my bike to school. And I was riding so well, I was riding no hands for 2 kilometers. Through stop signs, around corners. I'm going out in the world. I'm just moving on my bike, no hands, 2 wheels, doing this thing now. One of the interesting concepts in learning is called transfer learning. So my thinking was, if you could do that, you could ride a unicycle, or some kind of transfer would occur. As it turned out, there were 2 guys in the class who had unicycles. One was like a Chevy and the other one was like a Rolls Royce. And I didn't know that those things existed. And so in class, I attempted to ride it. You gotta wear a helmet, because you can hurt yourself. You gotta wear a helmet. And then I tried really hard to get some of that balancing stuff done in a constrained space that I had to resort to other stuff to try to even move. So, let's see. I'm gonna be able to feel like a holy smoke. I think this suddenly is the end. Just get to the end. Get to the end. Yes! That was my class being class right there. That was my valiant attempt to try to do that. That's the only way I could stay on that thing. Anybody here who thinks that's easy, go ahead and try. I did. Yeah, I'm old. I don't have as much strength as I used to have. Now here we are. That is one tough thing. I think once you get it, you're going to be all right. Okay. One of the great privileges of being a professor here is that you get to attend graduation ceremonies. And I try to, as often as I can, get up there. And just having a student come across the stage and to be able to give them a handshake or a hug as they're going, it's just, and to remember their name, to do things like that, it's just been awesome. But it's just an incredible gift. I've been to many, and one of the ones that hit me was this one. When William Ernest Henley talked about an unconquerable soul, there are individuals who you see struggle, and then they get to an achievement like this. The young man who's graduating here is Terry Tanoa. He's the person for whom I started the squash marathon. And The Squash Marathon is a fundraiser for Berkeley Squash Great Hours, and a whole bunch of other people do as well. And we raise money for unique in honor of Terry. First year that was done would have been December of 2010. This is a class in which I taught Terry. Terry's brother was in 2010, so Terry's brother that I found out. William Ernest Henley's poem is Invictus, and talks about an unconquerable soul. Many people think about what is the motivation behind doing something like that. When I found out about Terry Jackson, one of the things that I thought right away was we need to do something for him to raise his spirits as soon as we can. And sometimes it's something that's so people playing squash was out there. But I had a head coaching job at York University. My brother Richard, who is here today, was at home with me and my family when I found out that I got the job. I said, oh, Richard's my hero because he has the unconquerable soul that would be enviable to anyone able to visit. It was because of my connection and experience with him that I knew that we had to do something, and to do it as early as possible. I remember being on the phone with Stu Robbins, the person who called me, to tell me about the job. And we were at home, and it was elation. I thought, well, because I got a job. But I know that in picking up spirits, other things happen. I never told Rich that, so Rich, that inspired me to do more for others. And so this is that's my favorite picture. Almost looks like one of those boxing, but that's my typical pose. Yeah, baby, like that, right? I got some kind of a fist that's going. Now, it's been a great ride. It's been really, really good. And for professorship, I can't think of another job that I ever want. Right? There are other great jobs out there, but this, and just being here at the University, it's been great. Right? We get to travel, we get to take sabbaticals, we get to take admin leaves. Hang on a second, that's all vacations at work. Teach classes, have your own lab, do research, engage with colleagues, engage with people in other places. It's a wonderful life. It really is. And I'm going to close with reminding you of that, but I've got to do the last point I have here. Now, you might be thinking he's going to pull up the unicycle and show that he's learning how to actually do it. And the answer would be no. So, this question of if this was your last lecture, last lecture you could ever give, what would you say? Passion? Faith? Ease, you want to call it. Enjoy the ride. Each and every one of you in this room, and some who are not here today, have impacted my life in some way. Your presence is one of the greatest gifts anyone can receive. As I mentioned from the outset, I'm neither terminally ill nor retiring. But if I were to die tomorrow, I want to leave with no regrets. Everyone wants to check items off their bucket list, and I don't exactly have it. But what I do want to do is make sure I say I love you to the ones I love you. Say to the ones I love. I have done that, and I will continue to do that. I want to say thank you to the people who've contributed to my being and to my well-being. I want to continue to learn and grow to the end. If this was the last thing I could do, and I'm really happy that you're all here, I want to risk it all once again. And I'm going to. There are things that have kept me grounded, my family, love, nuclear and extended. Faith. Students with whom I interact, both graduate and undergraduate, Scotch people I've played with, KGB that I have coffee with on Wednesday, Friday, thrilled to be in company. What you may not know is that for the last 3.5 years I write every morning. Now you might think, oh yeah, you do it on Monday and then maybe on Friday. Every morning. Every morning. Since November 9th, 2011. Every morning. I've actually always wanted to write. But, and for the last 30 years I've been doing it kind of clandestinely, like on little pieces of paper and napkins, stuff like that. I just sort of tucking them away, not doing that. But as I said before, if you know something's right, then you do that. And I just sort of gone along and kept doing that. And so what I'm about to do is something that I have never done. I've read my writings to other people, one-on-one. I've given them to people where I think it may say something that would help them. This is a risk, and when you risk, there's no guarantee that of anything, any kind of outcome. But there's no good or bad, just learning. I always comfort myself with that. When was the last time you witnessed a risk? What I'm about to read is my way of saying a thank you that a simple thank you cannot convey. Each of you have contributed slices of me. There's just me here, but there's slices of me here. In different contexts, different places, different elements. To acknowledge this contribution, and in keeping with my outlook of following one's passion, which may involve risk, having faith, and then doing one's best, I have this for you to close tonight. You make me whole simply by your presence, completing my being, restoring my essence. Into this life we're born, so perfect and so free. But time can take away from us the parts that make me, me. To bring it back together again may not ever call. But if we listen, if we trust, it will be there for all. I've been so blessed, or so I'm told, to have this life I'm living. But you've made me whole, completed me with all that you have given. Life does end for all of us, but this I pray and will repeat, that you find the ways that make you whole and live a life complete. Thank you.